All right. If you are a financial advisor or life insurance agent and you are looking to up your virtual advising game, you'd like the opportunity to do more business virtually around the world, not limited to your local area. If you haven't already figured it out, coming out of the pandemic, how to optimize the ability to do virtual meetings, you're going to want to stick around for this three-part series. This is part one. And today we're going to highlight that on the Digital Advisor Weekly. All right, my name is Rob Souza with Advisor Marketing Hub, trying to help you create all things automated, digital marketing that is automated just for you. And we are each week with the Digital Advisor Weekly trying to give you all of the tips and knowledge that we've learned over the last decade and making them available to you so you can up your game every Wednesday, 8 a.m. So, and that's Pacific. If you're on the East Coast, 11 o'clock. And this week, we're talking about virtual meetings, how to optimize your setup, the ability to do effective and authentic virtual meetings so that you can connect with prospects and convert them into clients. So I'm actually going to play you a part of a master class that I already have created and made available on our platform, but I want to share that with you today. So yes, we're doing a video within a video. And before we get started, I just want to mention, if wherever you're coming from, I encourage you to put your location of where you're coming from, or if you're working for an advisor, where's your advisor from? Post those in the comments, and we're going to be actively involved in monitoring the chat and answering all of your questions throughout today's presentation. So let's get started. All right, so Sounds like we're on two of our platforms uh, don't have sound, so we've got to check sound. Make sure we're not going to run an entire video, of course, if we can't, if you guys can't hear the sound. So we're going to try this again, see if we can get this running. Make sure that you guys can hear this presentation. So give us 1 second here. This is all part of going live. We're going to see share. Okay. We're going to try. Let's see if this will work. I think we've figured it out. Let's go ahead. Let's give this a try. We'll restart the beginning. You guys give me a thumbs up if you can hear the sound. Again, this was a 3-part video series we did for white glove workshops and helping advisors follow up to webinars using optimizing digital virtual meetings. And so let's give this a try. Give me a thumbs up if we can hear sound on this. My name is Rob Souza, and I'd like to welcome you to part 1 of a 3-part series entitled Virtual Appointments Masterclass. As a follow-up to webinars, you obviously have to use Zoom and other virtual meeting platforms to be able to follow up with those prospects that attended the webinar and that are interested in learning more from you and about your business and what you can do to help. So let's take a look at part 1, which really is 9 steps to setting up or being prepared for your ideal virtual appointment. So part 1, as we set up, you got to be looking at things like the technical side of what does your background look like, virtual versus actual background, your camera, lighting, audio, clothing, what to wear to not be distracting but still authentic, whether you sit or you stand. Make sure that we're going to help you prepare to do your homework about the particular prospect that you're going to be meeting with, and make sure you take the time to get prepared. So let's get ready and let's go. Step 1, keep your background and environment simple. And now you may see that my background is an event banner, a little bit more intricate, but when it comes to actual virtual appointments with prospects, you do want to keep it simple and relatable and authentic. If it looks like you're trying too hard, then of course it naturally creates some skepticism from the particular client that you may be trying to connect with. And that's really the premise of today, is teaching you how to get prepared to be as authentic as you possibly can and make it easy for them to connect. They want you to be relatable. And so in that regard, it's better to have a natural background, whether if it's your office, your home. They want to see that you're a real person in a real environment, and it is preferable to do a natural background versus the virtual. Now, you may not have a choice. If you don't have a choice, that's okay. Then your next best bet is that green screen with the virtual background. But again, we can look at statistics and research studies. Just Google it and you'll see that when you're actually doing follow-up meetings to a formal presentation, you want an informal background that makes you relatable to the audience that you're trying to connect with. So keep it clutter-free. Reason for that is we want to make sure that you keep the focus on you in the conversation, your facial expressions, so that they can again relate and focus on you. They don't want to be leaning in and looking at book titles or anything in the background that may distract them from focusing on what you are saying or you're asking them about themselves. Okay. Part 2, cameras. And I don't want people to get overwhelmed by the tech part of doing virtual meetings, but you do have to invest a little bit of time, just a little bit of money, to make sure that you have a setup that can accomplish, again, going back to the common theme of creating authentic connection. You do have a bit of a challenge when you're doing virtual appointments because you have a screen in between the two of you. And that naturally goes against human nature, where we really do want to touch, feel, and experience people and relationships in person. And when we get down to doing virtual meetings, a lot of that becomes a challenge. And that's why setup and preparation is so extremely important, and why we're taking the first video to focus just on that. But a camera makes all the difference for a couple of reasons. One, you want people to be able to clearly see you, your facial expressions, the subtleties. And so choosing an external camera versus internal is going to come down to a couple of things. When you're looking at cameras, pros and cons is a built-in camera is going to save you money. It's a lot more simple. So if you're intimidated by technology and you just want kind of an out-of-box laptop or computer that has a built-in camera, and you don't want to get overwhelmed with tech issues and problem solving, then you're probably better off with a built-in camera, and then you can make up for it in other ways, which I'll go over in this particular class. An external camera, of course, is going to have a potentially much higher resolution, which is, of course, always better. And you can adjust zooming in, zooming out, a wider field or a narrower field. So it makes it easier to adapt to different environments, whether you're in a small office or a corner or wherever else. You have more options with the external camera. Make sure if you do choose an external camera that you have a computer that has the memory to be able to handle the extra processing power that's going to be needed for an external camera with those additional features. I say, if you have any doubt whatsoever, I encourage you to use your built-in camera just for the sake of simplicity. And I'll go over how you can compensate for that in a few minutes as I get to that. And then again, external, better flexibility, we talked about that, but let's move on. Keep it simple, do what you can, work with what you have. If you do want to invest, I can make a few recommendations, but bottom line is, no matter what I recommend, prices change, products change, the recommendations change. So make sure you do your own Google search. And that's why I list at the bottom here, if you can see, search on Amazon.com for USB camera, and you can look at the different reviews. I would consider that you look at how many reviews and the rating of those reviews, and read some of those reviews so that you can see the pros and cons, the things people like and don't like about that particular piece of software. I like this camera, and I have an exact replica of this camera. It can be clipped onto an existing laptop or computer, so it looks like you're looking exactly into the camera, which is really, really helpful. And again, resolution is everything. Most built-in cameras, if you're not, if you haven't purchased the latest laptop or computer, is probably going to be in 720. It's a pixel rating, means it's going to be the resolution or how clear the picture is for you. And then external cameras are typically going to be, they're going to have a higher resolution. This particular camera here, the webcam, FHD USB webcam, comes with its own software, is going to give you a little bit better resolution, some other functions. So it's entirely up to personal preference. Again, I say keep it simple. If you have any doubt, go with what you have. All right. So I like this picture here in this particular slide, because this is what we looked like when we started at the beginning of the pandemic, trying to lift up laptops to our eye level and get some sort of a lighting. I wish I had taken a picture. I mean, we had household lamps and garage lights, and took a stack of client files to lift the laptop up so it could be at eye level. But at the end of the day, it may have looked funny if you were in the room, but the reality is, if you were just a viewer on the other side of the camera, you had no idea. And that's the whole point. Work with what you have. You just want to keep it authentic. And so here's the picture on the right here is a good example of somebody making the best of what they have. Okay, and then you can do a laptop stand if you want to get really, they're inexpensive, you know, $30, and then you can adjust your laptop rather than going and grabbing books. You can adjust your laptop to the level of surface and the whatever seat you're sitting on. But most importantly, make sure that it's at eye level. So I always say test, test, test. I probably spent 40 minutes preparing even for this video because I'm dealing, the sun is starting to go down. I'm in a different room. And so you do need to log on well before your meeting and just test how well does it look and make any necessary last minute adjustments. That's part of the preparation process. People take this for granted, but these things do make a huge difference, especially from a credibility standpoint. I know a lot of advisors, they want to write books or run a podcast, but at the end of the day, even how you present on a virtual meeting does make a difference. If you're dressed down, you're slouching, the camera's looking up your nose, you know, there's a haze in the background from a video, from a window, it does give the impression that you didn't take the extra time to do the best you could do with what you have. And I think that's the impression that people want is that you and your business, you take it serious enough to invest into the experience. And making the experience better means that you take your business that much more serious. Every little detail makes a difference on your branding. It gives them an impression of who you are and how committed you are to this process. And I think if you're gonna do virtual advisor appointments, you've got to pay attention to every single detail to enhance the first impression that you're making on the prospects that you're meeting with. So when it comes to lighting, of course, there are so many different ways to do lighting. And I even today, I'm using one of my lights. It's a $9.99 garage light. And it doesn't matter what the lighting is or how much you paid for it. The bottom line is, does it look good so that you can look directly in the camera at the prospect and they can see every facial expression? So we're going to talk about what types of lighting. There's front lighting, of course. That's important. Many people use ring lights. There's other things you can use. My favorite's sitting in front of a window. Get rid of all the background and side windows and sit in front of a dampened front window where it's facing you. You can, if it's too bright, it's reflecting. Like I have glasses on. I think if I can lift my glasses up, you can see a reflection in my glasses. That's because I put a sheer curtain across my window, but I left the top part of the window open so I would eliminate the reflection off the glasses. Okay, so that's front lighting. You want to make sure that you have enough front lighting on your face for facial expressions. Side lighting. Side lighting is important because if you have too much lighting all the way around and everything's too well lit, it just seems too studio quality. It seems too inauthentic, that you're not in a natural environment, because none of us are in an environment where we have lighting from every single direction. So studies show, again, go ahead and Google it, that when you have some level of shadows, that it does show that you're in a real environment that isn't perfectly lit 360 degrees around. Okay. And then backlight, and I think you can see in my picture, maybe not as well today as the lighting's changing as we do this, that this side is shadowed and we lit this side of my face a little bit more than we do the other side to create some shadows. You can see, again, this side of the backdrop is darker, this side is lighter. We're just doing some side lighting. Okay. And then backlighting, of course, you do want lighting behind you. And the reason for it is because otherwise the camera has a hard time adjusting to depth and focus. And so you want to make sure that the lighting behind you will light up your backdrop just well enough to make sure there aren't any focusing issues for the camera, especially if you're using a green screen or a virtual background. You want that separated lighting on the backdrop, even if it's a green screen, so the camera can tell the difference between you, what you're wearing, and the backdrop. And then finally, turn off your overhead lighting, because that will wash things out and you'll end up getting a halo on your head and your forehead, and you want to eliminate that as much as possible. Okay. So types of lights, my favorite, and I have recommended this to hundreds of advisors who are just as happy as I am, and that's the UB's portable lighting that you can get on UB size, UBs, I don't know. But you can see down below, you can search Amazon for it's UBEESIZE video light kit. Most versatile kit with colored gels to help you control both front lighting and back lighting. I have one with a blue lens behind me and one in front of me with a half white, half yellow lens to it. Okay, these are really inexpensive. These are side lights, and it's just a clip on the table, on the laptop that just lights. Like to eliminate the shadow of this microphone onto my chest, I have a side light that is getting rid of those shadows. Then again, really inexpensive backlighting. Those are garage work clamp lights, and those are great for backlighting. So some quick hacks on how to save money and yet still get the same effect that you want. Here's a good example. You can see the good lighting versus bad lighting example, and it's about eliminating the shadows that matter. What matters? Your eyes and your mouth, because they want to be able to see your expressions and how you react. They want to know if you're listening. They want to know if you're paying attention. They want to know if you're distracted. And all of that does make a subconscious impression on the person that you're meeting with. So take a snapshot of, even with your phone, take your phone, take a snapshot of how it looks. Ask others, what do you think? How do you like that lighting? Once you get it down, you'll have a setup that works and you can use it every time. Okay, the other thing is audio, and the first most helpful thing to do, and I can only speak from my experience of Zoom simply because, and I know many have other platforms that they use. The reason that I use Zoom is because two reasons. One, they have the highest encryption for mainstream virtual calls. For security purposes, that's important. People know Zoom, so they're familiar with it and less intimidated. And finally, they have more settings to help you adjust your environment than any other platform that's out there today. So again, when it comes to audio, click on settings, click on audio, make sure that you click that box that says automatically adjust your microphone volume, but more importantly, suppress the background noise. And I do it high so I can eliminate, I'm in a home studio right now, so I'm eliminating the noise of gardeners, trash trucks. I have 2 dogs at home, and I have kids and my wife teaching Zoom classes to her students at the moment. And hopefully, if I've done it correctly, you're not hearing any of that going on right now. The other is a software you can download, especially if you're not using Zoom, and that's Crisp. For the most part, it's free. It gives you some limited hours and function, but it's inexpensive and priceless to me because I think it's $12 or something like that. Covers all of my Zoom meetings and classes, but it will also learn your voice and then cut out all the background noise that isn't your voice, in addition to the Zoom software. So when you use both in conjunction, it almost eliminates everything and is very, very helpful. That way you don't have to be apologizing when a dog is barking and you can't hear each other. All right, back to audio. Do we do a podcast microphone? Do we do, well, that's going to be more microphone. We'll talk about that in a second. Audio, though, Zoom does a really good job of making sure that whatever audio is coming out of the computer doesn't circle back into the microphone, but you can also do that with a headset or Bluetooth earphones. My encouragement to you, I'm sure you guys have seen this on television, different people putting, iPod, or excuse me, the AirPod, Bluetooth, or a headset. Now, it looks better if you're doing the Bluetooth AirPod, but you have one more element that you have to worry about, and it does the battery run out in the middle of your meeting and create a distraction and inconvenience. And so I tend to prefer to eliminate Bluetooth if I can. Headsets don't look quite as good in the first impressions, but they are more reliable. So if you're struggling with reliability and you just want to be confident, you're going to be able to communicate clearly and hear clearly what's being said. The plug-in version is a really good option. Again, both under $40, super simple. Okay. Now we're talking about audio going the other direction. That's our microphones. And you really have two options. If you want to be, which I tend to do, if you want to be more natural and authentic, I encourage you to get a clip-on or a lavalier microphone that you can put onto either your vest or your tie, and it's as close to your mouth as possible so that it'll just pick up the audio that's within a short range of that particular microphone. And you can see this one is a plug-in one. Again, they have Bluetooth. This one's a plug-in one, but for $13 to be guaranteed you're not going to run into problems because it's plugged into your audio jack or your microphone jack is a really great, reliable option you can be confident with and gets rid of the formalization of like a podcast microphone. That's what I have today. A lot of people like using that because it's set up, it's built into their environment, it's plugged into their computer, it's always ready to go. And it does tend to have a little bit better quality of picking up your voice, learning your voice. A lot of these condenser microphones will also eliminate the background noise while enhancing the noise that's with it, or the vocals within a short distance of the microphone. So again, if you want to keep it simple, do a plug-in lavalier. If you're looking for higher quality, and then feel free, you can do a podcast microphone, which definitely has higher quality. Okay, clothing. We're like halfway there. Hang in there with us. Now, the best colors to wear on Zoom, you can see it in the picture. It's going to be blue. It's going to be a bright solid, and solids is what I'm really trying to help people understand. Now, yes, I say avoid white, avoid black. There's a couple of reasons for that, is because white tends to reflect too much. I break that up. I am wearing white, but I do have a solid dark background, and I'm breaking that up with a vest and a tie. I'm using that solid bright color as my tie, with a more muted, broken up color that will break up the reflection of the white. Again, what you decide to wear, I think, is important that you be authentic. Wear what you normally wear if you meet a client for the first time. Just stick to non-black, non-white, solid colors that are a standout from your background. You don't want to have anything that you're wearing that will bleed or blend into the background, so that, again, it creates any sort of confusion, especially if you're using a green screen. Now, one thing that I want to remind everybody of that's been a challenge for everyone, including myself when I first doing virtual meetings, is you need to avoid complex patterns. So pinstripes or very small checkered pattern shirts can put off a reflective image that starts to distort on you, and it's really distracting if you're trying to meet with someone, because it just looks like their shirt is iridescent and glowing and moving, and it's just very distracting. So avoid pinstripes and checkered patterns. Solid colors or background are best for the background. And then also just make sure that you have a contrast. Again, especially if you're using virtual backgrounds like a green screen, make sure you don't wear whatever the color of the background is. And yeah, I am taking a risk here. I'm wearing navy blue on a royal blue background, but I've highlighted it with a white shirt to try and eliminate that. Play with it, see what you prefer, go with your instinct. If you're not comfortable, go with something else. Okay, sit or stand. Now, I've done both. Depends When I'm typically doing an interactive class or an interactive meeting, I tend to prefer to stand because it's just more natural for me. I can move. I use my hands a lot, and I tend to do better when I'm standing. But you may have hours of meetings, and so it may not be possible to stand the entire time. Make sure that, of course, the camera is at eye level. But if you do decide to sit, just make sure it's comfortable. Make sure you've rehearsed your posture. I even bought a posture undershirt that reminds me to subconsciously pull back my shoulders and not slouch as you talk to someone, because it does help, again, with first impression of confidence. And so you want to be aware of that. The other thing is, make sure that you don't sit in a chair that is a high back chair that rises above your shoulders. Not only will it create complications for you on a virtual background, but it's also distracting because they want to be looking and paying attention to you, not some middle piece of furniture between you and your background, and the camera gets confused. Okay, 7, we're almost there. 3 more to go. Do your homework. And what I mean by this, and I would say that this is more important than anything I've shared with you prior to step 7. As long as you have a camera that works with some sort of lighting that they can see your face, I'd rather you focus on this than anything else I've covered so far in this particular video. And that is, do your homework about your prospect. Learn as much as you can about your prospect, because it demonstrates that you actually care about them as an individual and not as a transactional sale. They want to know that you want to help them more than just with financial services, but that you have a higher purpose, a higher calling, and that you're going to champion a cause that they're struggling with and looking for somebody to lead them into a solution. And so this really matters about in the virtual world, that you care about them, because you may be a state or a country away from them, and they need to know that you're going to actually make a priority of taking care of them, their family, and the details of their family. A couple ways to do that. When you do your virtual presentation, make sure you have somebody on the Zoom call who's taking notes about particular comments, what people say, who's on camera, who's not on camera, what do they look like on camera, did their spouse join them? All of those details matter when you do that first virtual follow-up call. For instance, yeah, I remember you were sitting there with your husband, and we got to hear from your adorable Chihuahua. That stuff means, when you mention those things to them, it says, wow, you noticed me. You remembered me. And that makes a huge difference. So I don't care if you pay your 18-year-old son or daughter to make notes about that call, or go back through the video and make notes. You want to know as much as possible. You also can do research online. You can go to any social media platforms that they may have. If you find them on LinkedIn, there's an amazing tool called Crystal Knows. And one of the most valuable softwares I use, because what it does is it takes everything they've ever posted, everything they've put on their social profile, all the interactions that they've done, which is kind of scary, and then it identifies what personality type they are. And then you can actually have Crystal Knows send you a report on all the things to avoid and all of the things you should lean into based on their personality, that will help you improve your connection with them. And I'm telling you, it will double your connection or conversion rate by taking the time to study who they are and how best to communicate to them, rather than communicating the same way to every person. So it's important that you're going to have to take time. This may take you 45 minutes to an hour in advance as you prepare for the virtual call. But remember, how much have you paid to get them to a virtual event, then get them to an appointment, and then get them to show up to the appointment. So if you can get through all of that, you've probably spent close to $1,000 for this moment. Why would you not take an hour to prepare for it? Because the preparation that you do, I'm telling you, I've seen people, 5x their conversion rates because they put so much preparation into meeting number one. All right. So obviously you need enough time to gather your notes from all that research. And then it's about making a good first impression. And so start the meeting off with mentioning something that you both have in common and ask for them to share more about that particular thing with you so that you guys can connect on a common value or cause or interest. And it's a great way to start the call off so you don't jump right into talking about financial strategies. Okay. Again, that's part of the preparation. 8, give yourself enough time to be prepared. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because I just went into why it's important to prepare. But side note, you do want to prepare from a technology standpoint as well. The last thing you want is a tech issue with your microphone or your camera or any other piece of technology that you have. Log in early, test all of your tech, and make sure that it's working. Also, close all unnecessary tabs and programs. You can do a Control-Alt-Delete, which brings up a task manager. That's Control-Alt-Delete, all held down at the same time. And you can see how much memory is being used by the programs you have open, and close every program you possibly can so that your computer has all of the capability available to focus just on facilitating that meeting with that particular prospect. Check your internet speed. You can go to speedtest.org. Again, that's speedtest.org. And that will run a quick speed test and tell you how much download and how much upload speed that you have. And you want to make sure that and Zoom will tell you if it's adequate. And if it's not, either you have too many people on your internet trying to do something at the same time, or you need to contact your internet service provider and see if you can get a plan that includes more data transfer so that you don't have those moments where they can't hear you or you freeze on camera because of your internet. Avoiding all of those things will make your life so much easier. So those are the checklists I'd encourage you to check before you get started. Ask a friend or a colleague. I have my assistant log in to every Zoom call and we do a tech check. They have a checklist and we check our microphone, our volume, we check our internet speed, shut things down. We go through a checklist, and while they're a participant on the other end, now that we've gotten good at it, it takes 5 minutes. You can choose, again, a friend or a family member to do it for you. They go through the checklist, give you the thumbs up, you know you're good to go. And then have a backup plan. One of the things that I do when I do any sort of virtual meeting, I make sure I log into the same meeting on my phone so that if my internet goes down, I can just pick up my phone and turn on my microphone and my camera on my phone, and I can finish the conversation on my phone. I've now gotten to a point where I have 2 laptops and a phone, and I log all 3 of them in because I never want to lose the opportunity of communicating during our first meeting with the first impression. And number 9, as we wrap it up, I appreciate everybody's patience. I just wanted to make sure I was thorough in helping you prepare for all of the unthinkable things that happen so that you can feel confident and focus on that particular person who's on the other side of that camera, where all your opportunity is to help them to change their life, change their future, and your business as well, to be compensated for all of those things that you so are committed to doing for them. And you want to eliminate all these unforeseeable issues that could impede your effort to be able to do that. All right. So once you've done all that prep work, you should be ready to go, and you can forget about everything else other than connecting. So bottom line, use common sense. Don't freak out. If you have all those extra pieces in place, you won't have to panic. You can pivot to a phone or another computer. You can call them on the phone if you have to. If they're having tech issues, laugh about it. If a dog comes in and they hear, you hear, laugh about it. Kids interrupt, laugh about it. And be yourself. Be authentic. Don't apologize ever for mistakes that happen, because mistakes will happen, not just on your end, but their end. And it just makes you more relatable. Tell people it's okay. It's okay that your dog interfered. It's okay if they need to call you back in 15 minutes. So again, be prepared for mistakes, use humor, be willing to laugh at yourself, and be willing to make them feel comfortable if they're having struggles as well. So that's the 9 steps of how I get prepared for virtual meetings, which is, in our business, absolutely transformed our conversion rates. But I'm telling you, it took 4 or 5 months and thousands of dollars of mistakes for us to figure these things out. And my inspiration is to just want to share them with you. If I can help you save time and money by eliminating the things that we did wrong to get to a more efficient and effective virtual advisor sales meetings, then that was the motivation for the class that I taught today. So thank you guys, everybody, for doing in fact, I didn't play the end of the video that had the upsell for Digital Advisor Weekly every week. But thank you for joining us. If you do want to get notified and email reminders, you can go to digitaladvisorweekly.com and you can sign up or subscribe on the platform. You're all on different platforms, so you can subscribe on the platform that you're on to be reminded each week for that repeating event. We're going to continue to give away all of the things that we've learned so that we can help save you money by learning from our mistakes, and you can avoid them, save money, increase your effectiveness of doing business online, meeting with people online, and connecting authentically with people through the virtual format, which really is going to be the wave of the future. So I hope all of you get a chance to keep joining us each week. It's a lot of fun to get everybody's feedback and comments. I enjoy the weekly live. If you're an advisor who's thinking about doing live streaming, reach out to me. I'd love to help you do this, because this has been a really fun experiment, and I can't wait to see what we can do to help you guys transform your business. So catch us next week, Wednesday, 8 a.m., Digital Advisor Weekly.